think we all have a good idea of who I am. I'm Samantha. I'm kind of odd, a little eccentric. But what I've had to think about the last week, and what I've thought about a lot throughout my entire life, is how a little baby can be born into this world, untainted and pure, and grow up into me. Like, what happened between then and here? And I think a lot of it started with my isolated childhood. I was an only child, didn't have many friends or a very involved extended family, so I had to find independent ways to pass my time, and I liked to just do quiet things. And that started mainly with a big box of vintage My Little Ponies that my mom got me at a secondhand store. And I would act out these really elaborate storylines with murder and war and betrayal, kitty stuff. And I developed a really big imagination, and I would pick up these complex characters and stories. It's like, no, this isn't enough. I need a better creative outlet. So I started drawing, and that was kind of where that started, and that still stuck around with me. And I just was an independent, creative type, very quiet. And around this time, this is about when I was 3, and that's also when my dad started getting more involved in my life. He did not like babies. He didn't like the idea of anything that couldn't verbally communicate to him why it was screaming. So up until that point, he kind of avoided me. But he started taking partial custody, so every other weekend I would go to his house, and we would watch documentaries together, and he was lucky that I was the weird little kid that I was, because I actually really enjoyed that. We would watch Cosmos and Walking with Dinosaurs, and he imparted to me this really intense love of learning, and that didn't really give me new interests or change me a lot, but it gave me structure to add to my old interests. So no longer did I just like dinosaurs, I lived dinosaurs. I researched them, I read every book, and I didn't just like My Little Ponies anymore. I was a collector, I researched them, and I kept my eye on the market, made sure that whenever a good sale came up on eBay, you could pick it up for me. And I was just being nerd. And that was all well and good. My mom started teaching me to read, which is something I was really reluctant to do, but once I got the hang of it, it was another way for me to enjoy these escapist stories and other worlds that I love to get into. And that was pleasant until 5th grade, when I got a call from my dad that he had gotten very sick and he had been diagnosed with colon cancer. And a few months later, he passed away, he died. And I was there when he died, and that was it was a really hard time for me. And to cope, I became even more involved in the arts and reading and escapist pastimes. And that made me seem even more eccentric, because I was really passionate about these things that gave me a way to deal with my current life situation. And this was middle school that I was dealing with all this, going through the grieving process. And I also started showing symptoms. I didn't know this yet, but I had general anxiety disorder. And that's another impediment to socializing normally, and I just didn't have a lot of friends. It was a hard time. And it was really awkward. But my art and writing and reading gave me a way to express myself. And I was just really, really into that. And it kind of stayed like that. I was an introvert until high school, when I started to break out of my shell, and a big part of that was joining academic team. Now, I've been on an academic team since elementary school, but I'd never really gotten a chance to play or show my skills or all the stuff I learned about dinosaurs and animals. And Mr. Hill finally gave me a chance. So showing my skills in front of people kind of helped me to open up. And I made a lot of new friends. I made friends with Lacey Wallace, who introduced me to feminism and the equal rights movement, which is kind of how I'm still into that. And I met Cameron. I didn't like him yet, but we were going to be friends later. And it helped me open up a lot. And around this time, my grandma also started coming into my life, more so than she had been before. And I got into GSP, which did teach me how to make friends with strangers and just become braver socially. And I wouldn't say I'm really a social butterfly yet, but that did kind of help me to transform into the social moth that I am, because I still need quiet time. I still eat lunch by myself, because I get really nervous in social situations. My anxiety disorder, I wouldn't call it like really bad, but it's like this underlying sense of existential dread that's always just kind of there in the back of my mind. And this class has also helped me with that, because you guys are all really open, and you are just one of the many steps that I've taken to becoming the person that I am, and that's why I am Sam. Because that seems like really